Hi, John Canton here, and I decided to put a little short tutorial together about how I made the Chinese finger lock that I posted on Facebook a little while ago. Had a lot of likes on it, and people were asking a few questions, so I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how I made this. This particular one, this is the first one I made, and I'm going to make the second one right now on video. But this first one, this is a 12 strand. I did it with a square start on the end, and then this end, I just glued the pieces together is all I did. It wasn't anything really fancy, but really I'm imagining this as a way of getting rid of leftover paracord, little scraps. What I discovered with this particular version is that I feel like it might be a little too bulky. So I'm going to use the same core inside it to make this thing, and I'm going to use only 10 strands this time instead of the 12. In order to make this, so I've got a bunch of scraps. I've already glued one end together. I'm not going to do the square start. I should have mentioned that. I'm not going to do the square start this time. It curves in a little bit too much, and as a result, this end doesn't hang on nearly as well as this end does. So I'm thinking that my square start kind of curves in on the mouth there. So as a result, the rest of the trap doesn't grab a hold of the finger so well. So I'm going to actually use glued ends on both sides this time, see if that turns out a little bit better. Another thing to point out is that mostly I use 650 cord. It's already very flat. And I really suspect that using 550 is going to make this finger trap work poorly. I do have one of my scraps that I'm using is 550. Pulled the core out, of course, and I'm going to use some of that along with the 650. I mean, it's a way of getting rid of leftover scraps. So, as I was saying, I've got some scraps already stuck together here. So I've got these ones already glued together, ready to go. And I'm going to do one more here on camera, show you how I'm doing this to get it prepped. And then I'll show you how I make the finger trap. All right, so for tools, aside from the paracord, of course, I'm using a 5/8 dowel. This is actually the same kind of stock that I'm using for stock whips handles. I've got a tube of crazy glue, scissors, and lighter. So I've got my last two strands here that I need to put together. And all I'm going to do is put a little drop of crazy glue on here. That was a little bit too big of a drop. Stick the other one on there. Press it together. Hopefully I don't get too much glue on my fingertip. I'm then going to cut off the stubs that are hanging off of either side. And I'm going to hit that with the lighter, just so they don't fray. All right, so now I'm going to set up for my flat start, square start. So sticking the dowel in my vise. I'm going to take my strands that I've got all ready to go here. All right, so I'm going to try assembling it like this. I'm just going to lay these points out over the top, and my top strand is going to go over, under, and pull that over here. I'm just going to drape it over my thumb for the moment so it's out of my way. Then the next strand needs to go over, under, over, and drape it it over my thumb. Next strand goes over under, and I drape that, and the next strand goes over. And that leaves me with this one last black strand, which actually has to come around to the other side. So I'm going to kind of hold that, trying to make sure that my strands don't get mixed up over here. And bring that black strand around where it's going to go over first. So it goes over, under, and over. So now I should be able to pull that tight. I'm going to try to spread these points out around my dowel. You can see this one is nowhere where it belongs. I got to bring that all the way over here somewhere. The other side of that even. There we go. So now I got my 5 points kind of spread out. And from there, I'm just going to start doing a checkerboard plait. All right, so this strand is on top, points over here. I take my top strand over here, and we start by going over, under, over, just as if you were doing a checkerboard plait on a handle. And I go back to the other side now, and I take that one. Over, under, over. Okay, so I've gotten to a point where I think this is probably long enough. It is very lumpy at the moment, largely because of this green 550 that I have in here. I'm going to take a moment to grab a fid. I didn't tell you needed a fid, but you probably don't. But, just to kind of cinch a few things up a little tighter along here. Nice thing about using really random color scraps is that it's easy to tell where the strands are going. All right, I feel like that's a little better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the end of this, and I'm going to do that by using my super glue again. So just to kind of finish, hopefully with the same colors on top of each other, I was actually plating here was my center, but I'm going to just roll it over here a little bit to this green section here. I'm going to anchor down these two guys with a little drop of glue. Second, and then I'm going to turn a little bit more and we'll go to the next one. Now, because the plating goes at an angle underneath, you're going to have to bring strands around in order to make them connect in a way that they're just not naturally doing it, right? So this next strand that I got to connect is the red to red, but it's actually coming out the wrong side over here. So I got to turn this over a little bit and follow my same plating that I was already doing over, under, over, whatever we've got. And now I'm ready to seal the red strands together. Turn it again to the next one. I got a black strand coming over here and a undering here to get it. All right, so I'm going to take this off the wheel. I'm going to snip these off right next to the glued area. I'll come back and melt those down in a moment. Be interesting to see here, once we're all done, whether or not this one hangs on better than the 12 plant. It feels looser already. All right, and I'm just gonna touch that with a bit of fire to fuse all those ends. All right, so there it is. This one's looking extra ugly. I'm gonna blame that 550 paracord. It definitely holds on better. I definitely think it is on a lot better. That 10 strand is definitely the better number rather than the 12. It's a little bit hard to get in. I'm not sure if that's because of the 550 or not, but it hangs on a lot better than the other one does. Anyway, that's how I'm getting rid of some waste leftover paracord scraps. Have fun.